I've been really enjoying Jay Bates's Tool Talk episodes where he's been talking about individual tools and whether he'd buy them again, what's good, what's bad. Not a really formal review process, but very informative nonetheless. So I want to do something similar to that, and this is going to be called Tool Warble, as I will warble on about the various tools that I have. However, today I'm not going to look at a single tool, but a category of tools, and I'm going to start off with the measuring and marking tools that I use. These are sort of various accessories grouped by, in this case, brand. So I've got a Stanley Fatmax tape measure. I actually quite like this. Being 2 meters, it's nice and small. It is a little bit flimsy, but they're cheap, so I'll keep buying them as they get damaged. However, other than this framing square, which again, cheap and works quite well, everything else I've got Stanley is junk. So the only one that still remains that I haven't thrown out is this compass trammel point thing, where it's, for a brand that was known for good quality back in its day, it's sad how garbage they are. So these are my layout tools, mostly squares, but we'll get into that. I do have another collection of small rulers, but they don't have particular branding, and a ruler is kind of a ruler for how I use them. Let's start with these two Incra products. This is the Incra T gauge, something like that. I would not buy this again. It's nice. It has nice T-track that you slide that back and down, up and down in. It's got all the individual spacings for millimeters, half millimeters, lots of imperial layouts for, I think, 64ths or something like that. It's flimsy. It's kind of expensive, it's kind of flimsy, and the size actually is really inconvenient. For me, I don't do a lot of stuff that's, let's see, 150 mil, 6 inches, that I need layout for. I might use a small square to put a domino placement or screw placement in, but I don't need the whole size, so this gets too clunky. I mean, it's accurate, it's nice enough when used with a 0.5 millimeter mechanical pencil. It's very accurate, but I don't know what the purpose of it is. My wife, on the other hand, loves this. This is her favourite square. So it is really just a personal preference thing. Functionally, it's fine. Like all Incra products, it's pricey, but you get a good quality product. I think if this was less flexible and perhaps just the metric side and maybe flip it around or have a second blade in it for the Imperial, it'd be quite good, but it's just too bulky. We've also got their Incra's centering ruler, and I've used this from time to time, but again, it's really flimsy. It works well enough, but for the price, I would like something a bit sturdier. I don't often need to find the exact center and then mark out from there. I can work that out, but it can be quite a time saver if you don't want to work it out or you don't know exactly what you're working with, I suppose. Again, this is something my wife really likes, so she uses it all the time, but I don't. The flip side of that is this PEC double square. Now, they are an OEM, so they make lots of equipment for other places, or other brands just rebrand their stuff. So the Lee Valley double square, same thing, same company, just painted differently. I've also got a replacement blade for it, so when I need 150, however rare that is. However, this is awesome. This is my favorite layout tool, particularly for using on dominoes. I can adjust it and mark out just like you would expect from a square. Very solid piece of kit. This framing square is something that caused a bit of a stir when I first started using it to make the crosscuts that I did a few videos ago. The square itself is nothing particularly fancy. It's a Spear & Jackson one. It wasn't overly expensive, though it was square out of the box, so I didn't have the need to adjust it, which, if you didn't know, you can adjust framing squares by hitting the corners there, and it'll bring the blade in or out. However, what did cause a bit of stir was this piece. This is the fence piece. This is from Veritas. It is their framing square fence, something like that. which makes a framing square a hell of a lot more useful for a woodworker versus someone doing construction or carpentry. Ideally, I would get a woodpecker's T-square. Those things look fantastic. The 600mm one would be perfect, but to get it into Australia or to buy it from the one retailer I could find in Australia, we're looking at about $300. This, I think, was $30, maybe $40. Might have been $40 for the combo. So as nice as the woodpecker stuff would be, and I would prefer that, I'm not willing to spend that much on a marking tool when this will do the job, and it's actually quite nice. Basically, you just slide it on to where you want. There's 2 brass screws, keep that firmly up against the blade, and there you go. A framing square with a fence, so it's really easy to butt it up against the edge of the plywood, workbench, whatever. I do a fair mix between sheet good and solid wood projects. On the solid wood projects, this won't get a lot of use, if any, but on the sheet good projects, this is proving to be very useful so far. I guess the final measuring tools that I regularly use are these. Digital angle checker thing, digital angle gauge and level. I don't use the level function on it, but this is invaluable for setting angles at the table saw. Gauges on the front of table saws, doesn't really matter what brand, how high end or low end, should be used as a guideline. Something like this, you'll dial it in to 0.02 degrees accurate. So really quite like that, makes getting miters or bevel cuts very easy. I bought this at the same time. This is also a Wixey product. This is a depth gauge thing, which it's useful for setting exact heights of stuff. I don't use this anywhere near as often as I thought I would. It's got little magnetic feet, which is good, but the rail of the table I've got, it's got an aluminium insert. The table saw has a phenolic coated zero clearance plate, so the metal doesn't always, the magnets don't always have something to grab onto. It's good, and it's easier than using a square or something like that to set the height of the table saw blade or of the router bit, but often I can just reference off a piece of material. So I don't know if I would buy this one again, definitely would buy this again. And I guess the final one is just a cheap pair of calipers. For woodworking, the inaccuracy of something like a cheap pair of digital calipers is fine. For CNC work, perhaps not. If you're needing crazy tight tolerances of everything and you need to measure it, I would probably go with the iGaging Origin calipers. They are they're about $60 Australian, but they are rated as very good for the money, competing with brands much more expensive than they are. So that would be where I'd go, but I don't necessarily need to know within 0.1 of a millimeter accuracy. I'm usually comparing it against 2 pieces of wood, you know, and setting my layout like that, and that works better for me, I think. Finally, these are the marking tools we use, or I use. Uni Kurutoga 0.5mm mechanical pencil. I quite like this. It rotates the pencil lead as you click down, so it in theory is sharper or stronger or something. But it's fine. It's relatively cheap. I like the thicker barrel. Ideally, I'd get something like a Rot Ring 600 or 800 with the metal barrels, but they're expensive, so I haven't. If you know of a cheapish mechanical pencil that's very sturdy and ideally has a retractable tip, that would be great, because that can go into an apron a lot easier than something like this, which invariably will break. Incra mechanical pencil that came with the previously mentioned Incra products. It's too skinny. Like, as a pencil, it's fine, I guess. Like, it works, but it's too skinny and it's not comfortable to hold. Always have some HB pencils, Stadler, whatever. It doesn't really matter, but HB is my preference for pencils, because it's nice and, well, it's not too soft, it's not too hard. If it's too hard, you'll dent the wood. Yes, you'll get a softer line, and it's easier to sand out, but I find that it dents the wood. Automatic punch, might have been a Spear and Jackson. It works, it's easy to start points from that. Nothing special. Fastcap's long nose pattern marker. Surprised at how well this works. I don't tend to use the chisel point, but the fine point is fantastic for getting through bolt holes and that sort of stuff for when you need to mark out particular things. And for the price, it's better than a Sharpie for me because of the long nose, though if it came in an even finer point, more like a Sharpie, that would be preferable. But otherwise, it's quite a nice marker for when I need a permanent marker. I have two marking knives. One is a Pfeil, double bevel, or they're both double bevel. This one feels great. It's a bigger handle, it's got some nice contouring to it, it's shaped nicely, it is weighted well. This is a joy to use. It's also relatively expensive for a marking knife, but this was very much a splurge thing I got for myself at the time. And this is an eye gauging one. It does the same job, but the handle is, I don't know what it is, might even be pine or something like that. It's very lightweight. It's not balanced particularly well. It's got a much longer but narrower point, blade on it. It works. And it works for a price, I guess. That's the best thing I can say about it. I don't like using this. I love using this. I know it doesn't make a lot of sense, but my recommendation would be to splurge or make your own. Possibly I would not buy this again and instead make my own, as it's really just a blade embedded in some wood, which I can turn. But I wouldn't get the eye gauging one. And I suppose the example of that is my marking awl, which I have made a video of, which is just a drill bit in a handle that I turned. And I would do that again. This works. Well, I told you I would warble on. In the description below, I will have links to most of these products on Amazon, as they will be affiliate links, as one viewer suggested that I do. Let me know if you think the affiliate link is stupid or not, but basically if you buy it through Amazon after clicking on those links, you won't be charged anything more, but I will get a small commission, which will keep the Wood Knight show more active. Of all of these things, the only two I would not, or three that I would not give up would be these. These three are definitely my favourite. The double square, the Pfeil marking knife, and the Veritas fence on it, the square fence. All the rest I could probably do without, though some of them are nice, some of them are so-so. They are what they are. If there are other categories of tools that you think you'd like me to talk about that I have, let me know in the comments below, and I will try and get around to those. I don't know how frequent these sort of warbles are going to be. Probably next up I will look at sanding equipment, so both the sandpaper and the particular sanders and jigs I use for that sort of stuff. Thanks for watching.